there's appropriations are already insufficient to pay for what the formula would produce for transportation.
I'm not sure that's the case this year.
By reducing the minimum share, that will redistribute money to the lower capacity districts. Right?
Well, what it does is free up money that we can use to fund other elements of the formula.
Oh, okay. So you're not putting. Okay.
I mean, the transportation line item will go down. It does. If you look in the budget bill, the transportation line item goes down. But that freed up money for us to use for other purposes in the education budget to support what we were doing. Now, I will also tell you that a good portion of the money that's lost, that is not funded through the transportation formula, there's a number of districts that get it right back through the guarantee. I mean, I think Upper Arlington is an example of that. You know, if you look at their progression across 17, 18, and 19, their aid goes down, but their guarantee goes up. And I think it's attributable to transportation, although I've not determined that definitively.
Tim, I've talked to some Republican lawmakers last budget. I've talked to some again this budget, and I've heard this similar argument. They say we have a really hard time going back to our districts and justifying a budget that both cuts schools and cuts income tax.
Mm-hmm.
What is your response to that?
Well, in this budget, since the size of the net tax cut is very, very modest, I don't know why they would have that problem. Perhaps Governor Kasich's tax cuts were too large for some Republicans in past years, but you know, this year it's given the general budget, given the budget circumstances. I mean, we ratcheted down the size of the net tax cut, so that should not be a problem this year, I wouldn't think.
Like, we didn't have some schools who were growing, would we do it? Like, if all of our schools were declining, would we need teams?
Well, we probably would, yes.
Okay.
I mean, again, the concept is, if there are fewer kids, why do we keep paying the same amount of money
No,
to educate them?
I agree.
What about inflation, though?
Okay.
And multi-year teacher contracts.
That's a management issue.
Real quick on the tax cuts, the new tax brackets you created, are those based on anything? Are they based on any other states, or are they just?
I mean, the idea was to get rid of, from my perspective, the problem with the 9 brackets is, if you looked at them, because they were based on 1971. You know, we had these very small increments of $5,000, $10,000 when you moved from one bracket to the next, and then got into started to pay more income tax. And so the idea was, look, it's not 1974 anymore, and so let's put some distance between these brackets, so that people don't get a raise and suddenly find themselves in the next tax bracket and see their tax bill go up.
Continue indexing?
We suspend it during the 2-year tax cut, and then it goes back into place,
Okay.
which is something that we have done in previous proposals. In the years when we have tax cut happening, we suspend the indexing, but it'll go back in place for tax year 17, 18, I guess for 19.
I think on the table I saw you reduce the top tax bracket, though, right? It was like
We put it, yeah, from
210
210 back to
and now it's
200,000,
200.
right, back to 200,000.
What was that about?
Because, again, we went to round numbers on the brackets, right? I mean, what, 25 to 100, 100 to 200, and then 200 and above, I believe. Indexing will get it to crooked numbers soon enough.
Commissioner Testa indicated that when I asked him, he said that he thought there would definitely be some people who would see tax increases if the brackets were changed but the rates were not lowered. Do you have any more of a sense of just how many people we're talking about?
Well, again,
Where on the range?
Yeah.
that would hit?
If you are not careful when you do bracket adjustment, you can have people who might see increases. Not unlike if you go to a straight flat tax and you don't manage appropriately, you'll see people who get a tax increase. And so we carefully crafted this thing to avoid that, so that there's in almost every case, right, there's just these 500 people that have identified that on the income tax alone would see an increase. And it is my understanding they mostly are people with business income, and which is my understanding mostly pass-through income, and those folks are doing okay based on previous policy adjustments.
The ongoing spending in Medicaid being under projections, are there any tweaks to that to get that closer to where it'll actually end up, or are you leaving it as is?
Well, we again, our guys made a projection as to what they think the program is going to cost. It was more than we could afford, and so we have some cost containment initiatives in this to help bring that rate down. We'll see. It is as with any estimate. I mean, they've taken their best shot. They reasonably believe this is the amount of resources that's necessary to support the program. That's what we put in the budget. It will be. Is it conservative? Yes, it'll be conservative. Does that mean we budget with the intention of getting underspending? No, we don't. I mean, again, we've had some, in this last year particularly, we've had some things break our way that caused it to be under. Actually, in the last couple of budgets, we've had some things that broke our way. But in the last budget, or this budget, the budget that's in place now, I mean, our managed care contracts were well less than we thought. Well less than we thought. And that saved us a bunch of money.
Any idea why that happened?
The managed care contracts are developed with the help of an actuary based on the actual experience over, and then they project that forward, and so those calculations yielded much lower rates than budgeted. I mean, we had budgeted like 3% increases for 16 and 17, and the 16, and it's calendar years, not fiscal years, but the 16 was a 3% contraction. Calendar 16 was 3% contraction. So, the difference between 3% up and 3% down is 6 percentage points. So there's a good chunk of savings. Calendar 17, it went up, but we're still getting some savings in calendar 17.
But managed care is supposed to save money, so if the rollout isn't as large as what you think it is, are you losing money on the other side?
Well, again, I still think we still think we're going to save money. And not only do we think we're going to save money, if you talk to Greg Moody, he thinks we'll save money and that we get better quality care, we get better outcomes. Because we put the risk in the hands of the managed care companies, and they work particularly with high-cost folks to try to get them into arrangements that avoid medical conditions that cost. So they work hard on those high-cost cases in a way that fee-for-service, it doesn't really happen. Again, that's why we propose to put nursing home care, long-term care, aged, blind, and disabled folks into managed care. because they are some of the most expensive people. And so we hope that managed care for them will yield the same savings that it has in the other areas of the program. And we also hope it will improve outcomes.
Of course, prescription costs are the wild card in the Medicaid program.
Well, prescription costs are a significant driver of cost in this upcoming period of time. And I can't, again, you'd have to talk to Barbara Sears, but I can't talk about the particulars, but the projected rate of growth of drugs is significant, and that's going to flow. That'll flow through into these managed care contracts that we will have to sign in the upcoming biennium.
We got about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Did you say you sent these to us, the school district tables, or?
Yeah, I did email them to you, and they are now posted on the website, and you're welcome to a hard copy as well.